Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We've got currently looking at 30 attendees today, so fantastic that you could all join us for this afternoon's webinar. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Laura Hodgkiss. I'm the event and training team leader here at Staffordshire Chamber of Commerce, and I've got with me today Emily Whitehead, Emma Clarke and Mark Brammer presenting the webinar this afternoon, which is restarting the visitor economy post-lockdown. So really excited about that today. Just for those of you that don't know already, we cannot see or hear you today, so the only way that you can communicate with us is via the chat function at the bottom of the screen or the Q&A. But what I would ask is if you just leave the Q&A and the questions just till the speakers have said that the Q&A is ready and raring to go for you, that would be absolutely fantastic. For those of you that are watching it or want to watch it later on, we are doing recordings of this as well, so it will be on our Staffordshire Chamber of Commerce webinar library for you to look at as well. Fantastic. With all that said, we'll get started today with Emma, who's going to start off our webinar today. So over to you, Emma. Can you hear us, Emma?
I'm here.
Wonderful, great.
Sorry about that. Right,
no,
okay.
Not a problem.
Hello and welcome to today's webinar. It is focusing on the visitor economy, but all sectors are welcome and hopefully everyone will get something from it. So first of all, I'd like to introduce our speakers to you in the panel. We have Emily Whitehead, who I'm sure many of you know about. She's waving at you now. Many of you know her. She lives and runs a business here in Staffordshire and has been around for a long time, and run her own accommodation business as well. So she has very much experience in the visitor economy. And then there's me. I don't actually live in Staffordshire. I just live over in the border in Shropshire, but I have worked in Staffordshire now for around 7 years. So most of you have seen me in and around Staffordshire as well. And then finally, Mark, who lives in the lovely Staffordshire Peak District, who's there waving at you as well. It does a lot of your PR and communications, and it can be seen at the moment over in the chamber. So that's the three of us. We'll all be talking to you at various times throughout the webinar itself. They've all gone quiet, and it's just for me now to talk to you. So why us? Why have we been asked to do this webinar today? We have between us 90 years worth of experience in the visitor economy. I know we don't all look that old, but we have got about 90 years experience, and many of us have worked in Staffordshire. And we worked on the Destination Staffordshire business support program, which many of you would have been involved with, and we've been talking about how we can continue that program since it's finished last year. And we decided that with the current situation, enough about talking, and now actually it was time to get into action, and we should work together and see how we could help and support the visitor economy. We've been talking, when we talk about the webinars and what we could do to help you and support the businesses, it made me think about a training program that I went to previously, and you'll see on my slide there the graphic of the geese. And I thought about, there's a team building exercise that you could do with geese, and I thought it was really quite apt to what we're going through at the moment. Have you ever wondered why the geese actually fly in a V formation? And it's so that it actually can help them and make life easier as they're flying, and the wind is a greater help with the airflow and to pull the air, and they can move 70% faster and work together 70% better by working in a V formation. And I felt that today actually is all about how we can all work together and how we can work in a formation that we can work and support each other. Also, by going in the V formation, it's about visibility and increasing their visibility. And that's how they can stay connected and work together. And I think if we work as one in this sector and work as one destination, we can be heard about what we need and what we need help on, and we can be heard by the decision makers. And hopefully together, by talking as one, we can actually get more and more support coming to Staffordshire and coming towards the visitor economy. When one goose actually starts to struggle, 2 or 3 of those geese will fall out of the formation, and they'll work together in their own formation and slow down to help each other. And as a group, I think we can all work together and help each other and show support. And that's not just today, that's throughout the next coming months. And there's some great stories that are coming out on how people are working together and supporting each other, how local food suppliers are working with retailers, local retailers, to help them keep themselves stocked up so they can actually serve the customers, and how they're also helping restaurants and takeaways to make sure they're getting local produce and getting the food in so they can stay open and keep working. And hopefully by showing all that support and working together, when we are open and when we're allowed out and when we're allowed to actually start working as we have done in the past, then we'll continue to remember those people who supported us and work together and support each other locally. The leader of the geese isn't always the same leader. There's empowerment to make sure that so people can help each other and different leaders can come through at different times. And today on this webinar, there are 3 of us who are leading this webinar, but in the future, other people can lead on webinars, other people can offer advice, and other people can show their support and work with each other. So we don't have all the answers, but some other people might have the answers to help at a different time. And you don't need to have the answers all the time in your business. What we're about today is about helping and giving some answers and some help, so you can take a time out and have a think about what you're talking about and what you're doing in your business. There are lots of people out there to help, and there are a lot of people who can offer support, and I'll be showing a slide in a minute of all that support that can come to you. Finally, geese are always looking to their location. They're strictly committed to getting to that end location. And I think as a destination and as a sector, we should be getting out the other side of this and be proud that we all work together to get to the other side as one destination. So what's today about? We asked the Chamber if we could continue to run these webinars after today, and we can give you a selection of webinars going forward. But we want to know what you want from us. So on your toolbar, as Laura just explained, there is a Q&A section. So if you want to put some questions on there as we go along, we'll try and answer them as we either go along through today's webinar, or we'll use them as a discussion point at the end of the webinar, or we will also use them and follow up as well, follow up the questions. But also if on that question Q&A section, if you can also put in there anything that you'd like to hear in the future, any webinars that you'd like us to focus on in the future, then we can add to that, and then we can look at the suite that we're running, and we can try and focus on specific areas that you'd like us to go on. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Let me see if I can move us forward onto the next stage. Next one there. Okay, so it has been really, really hard. And 5 weeks ago, we suddenly got hit with everything stopped. Everything just closed down on us. I don't know how you feel, but gradually, as I've been able to start breathing again and the panic has stopped, I've been able to see things have started to change. And I chose not to panic. I chose to look at what my business could do going forward. And I've set myself a target. I've set myself a target that in the next 2 weeks, I'll have a website built. It's only taken me 7 years to get there, but that is my target. Because I've been able to stop and think and breathe, because before then, I was absolutely paralyzed. So where are you getting all your advice from? There is so much coming out there. It must be unbelievable. We're completely swamped with advice coming in all different directions. These are the websites that I've been using a lot for advice and guidance. And when people have contacted me and asked me for help, asked me what I was looking at, these are the ones I've found are quite up to date and keep sending out more and more information. I've also signed up to newsletters that are linked to these websites as well, so I get updates on a regular basis. Obviously, there's the main national government website. I like this because it's not just about the business, it's also about my personal life and how I can help myself and help my family, as well as helping the business. And I find lots of these links on here, all these arrows, are very, very helpful to move forward. Then there's the national sector specific site. So you're looking at the Visit Britain site. On the left-hand side is their main website with the links through. Obviously, they take you back into the government site as well. But what they're focusing on here is all about the visitor economy and the sector itself. If you click through on the business support part, you get onto the second page, which is here on the right-hand side, and the communication with your customers. We're going to talk about that today, but there's some great pointers that they're using on that site there. Then if you look locally, we've got there's 2 Staffordshire websites. We've got the LEP site and we've also got the Growth Hub. Now the LEP site is very much strategic, the strategic information that's coming through, but then the Growth Hub is giving a lot more information about how you can help your business. One thing I would say though is when I look on these sites is when you look at PDFs, check if they're dated, because they're going out of date so fast if something's been printed up and typed up. I prefer live sites that you can just click onto links and they're constantly being updated. The chamber's been absolutely fantastic. The amount of information that's coming out of the chamber and these webinars that are being run, they're doing them all free for anybody. You don't have to be a member. All the webinars are free. This was a snapshot that I took last week of their website, which has obviously been updated with more webinars on it going forward. Constantly something going on and some more information. The university are running events as well, business support events. And there's one actually on Friday as part of Staffordshire Day. So you can link onto there through the Eventbrite link and register onto there, the University Business School's advice. And then, my things dropped down too low. Enjoy Staffordshire on the destination site. They've got their trade pages and the business support pages. When we ran the business support programme last year, we did a number of webinars which offer support to businesses, and they'll all be loaded up there. They're just being loaded up at the moment, and all the webinars, which again will be free to link into to help you with your business going forward. So how are you, when you were busy and before all this happened, you were always too busy most probably to look at your business, to take that step back and actually think about what you're going to do for the business. I found that this has really helped over the past five weeks to take a stock of the business, identify what actually should be going on in my business and where it should be going forward, and what I'm missing out on, what changes have happened, what trends have happened, and how am I communicating with my customers going forward. So that's what Mark and Emily are going to talk about, what you can be doing today, which will help you bring you out to the next side and bring your business forward and maybe change it going forward, but where you can be in 2, 3, 4 months time when we're finally allowed to open our doors again. So I'm going to hand over to Mark now, who's going to talk to you about how you can communicate with your customers and what you need to be saying going forward.
Thank you very much, Emma. You just bear with me while I share my screen. Okay, looks like we're up and running. If we're not, Laura, give me a nudge, but hopefully you can all see that. So fascinating facts there that Emma's been talking about, and you know, can't reiterate it more that we're all working together at the moment. So I've just rolled back to basics here and looking at why we communicate, and there's plenty of reasons on there, all fairly obvious. But I suppose the one that stands out at the moment is about the repositioning, raising and maintaining your profile. So a lot's changed. There won't be a business out there where things haven't changed radically in the last 4 or 5 weeks. I think nowhere is this more obvious than in the visitor economy, because you'll all know, you're all out there, the 40 odd of you who've turned up today, you've just been floored. It's come to an absolute stop. And as Emma alluded to, it's the rabbit in the headlights syndrome in the first few days. My goodness, what are we going to do here? But now we're all picking ourselves up. We're all starting to think about light at the end of the tunnel. You know, already there's talk about what we're going to be doing post-lockdown. That's a long way off yet, but now is the time to prepare and communicate. So Communication is all about that, raising and maintaining your profile. Just keep informing people what you're doing, and your brand is there. You are your brand. Even some people, the worst case scenario, should a business disappear, you won't disappear. You will come back and you will start something new, following the post-lockdown period. So lockdown communication, what are you doing at the moment to keep your business going, and what will be different when you reopen? Great example I saw the other day was Hotel Rudyard. Jim up there, he's carrying on with his room refurbishment program at the moment. So he's dripping the information out and showing all the new rooms and the new areas of the hotel that are being refurbished. And he's actually saying to people, send us an email, send us a comment, and a lucky winner there will get an overnight stay for 2 when all this is over, and come and see. So it's keeping the narrative going there. You're part of a community. Again, we've talked about communities working together. So if you're in a village or a town or a group accommodation group or a retail group, there's so much going on at the moment. Those bonds are going to be so much stronger when we come out of this. But keep telling people all about it. Use your channels to let people know on a daily basis and diarise what's happening. Charitable work, again, we're all seeing how much people are rallying round with charity works, with Just Giving donations, with people walking around the gardens for the London Marathon, with people raising money for the local food banks. There are stories literally everywhere around this. So I'm sure that you've all got something, and don't think, oh, what I'm doing is boring or insignificant. In the big scheme of things, it isn't, and we're all doing amazing things at the moment. And the last point on there, I've put, how's your website looking at the moment? Because I'm sure with me, like most people, your own website is sometimes the last thing you go to. But we do have an opportunity now to tidy up the websites, to make sure we're blogging, it's up to date time. We've had some fantastic weather. Hopefully you've all got some brilliant photos of the daffodils in bloom, of the spring blue skies. You can upgrade your photos. You can upgrade your photos of your interiors, show off your rooms, your seating areas, your gyms, your shops or whatever to their best light. So it really is a good time at the moment to have a bit of a spring clean. I put this one on because I know Tony Miller from Great Grounds is in the audience today. So hi, Tony. And here's your fantastic alpacas. And in a time of crisis, I think everybody likes a nice animal story. So if you've got animals, you could do a diary. We could have an alpaca diary. People love to see other people's dogs. They're characters, the business, what the dogs are up to, and often sometimes animal Twitter sites. I know Monty Don, I think his dog Nigel at one point had more Twitter followers than Monty did himself. So think a little bit outside the box there and show some of the quirky aspects of your particular attraction or your venue. Looking at where your audience gets their information from. The third point on there, I've said be mindful of pandemic information overload, and I don't mean that as a negative thing at the moment. What I mean by that is you can't give out your message often enough. Just because you posted about your new painted walls, your new restaurant interior that you did on Monday, don't think that people will have seen that. So just keep reposting across all your different channels. With a tone to suit your particular audience as well. Just bear that in mind, the tone, and don't be afraid to go and have a look what other people are doing. And there's always great ideas out there that you can take off other people. So have a look at attractions around Staffordshire. There are some fantastic examples at the moment. Dip into people's Facebook pages and just see what's going on and think, perhaps I could adapt that for my particular business. Map yourself out a little plan. I normally, when I do a talk like this, I talk about a 12-month plan. You're probably talking on a 12-hour plan at the moment, but it's good to think, right, what's coming up in the next 3 weeks? Take an hour out, get yourself a blank piece of paper, a sharp pencil, and just literally write down your priorities for communication, what stories you're going to put out there, what's coming up. Talk to family and friends, and talk to other businesses, because often they'll see things in your business that you don't see, and you might think, oh, that's pretty obvious, that's pretty boring. But there's probably a lot you've got to talk about, and a lot you've got to get ready for when we do reopen, a lot of things to get excited about. So write that down, run it past other people, see what they think. If you're a larger company, you might want a bit of external help at the moment. You know, there's people out there who can help you do that, or you might thinking of delegating the responsibility around if you've got staff still working for you in the business. So you give, say, for example, one person the Facebook, somebody else the Twitter, somebody else LinkedIn, somebody's job to keep your website up and current. If you might also find that it's a good time to look at the actual business plan or the marketing plan. You might not even have a business plan or a marketing plan. So have a think about those things as well, so you can hit the ground running when we come out of lockdown. I'll just put a link on there. The Chamber can help with that through their mentoring scheme. So if you want to make the most of that and get a mentor at the moment, I think you can have up to 12 hours mentoring if you're a non-Chamber member, and 16 hours if you are a Chamber member. So fantastic support there, and you get a lot of all the mentors, of which are around 200, of people who are out there, been there and done it and seen a lot, running their own businesses. With your social linking, decide what works for you. I don't think any of us can say that we're proficient or effective in all forms of social media. And I get people who say, oh, I don't get Twitter, it doesn't work for me, or I don't like Facebook. Well, if you don't, that's absolutely fine. Just use the channels that you feel most comfortable with, and you're better off doing one channel well than trying to spin 5 plates and spreading yourself thinly over 5 or 6 social media channels. And finally, from me, I just put a little slide up here just to talk about, because I am doing quite a bit of work for the Chamber at the moment, and that involves writing copy for things like webinars. For example, for this webinar, helping with blogs, helping with press releases and newsletters. So there's loads going on at the Chamber. Mentioned the mentoring service already. HR advice, you know, by now you will have furloughed your staff if you're going to furlough your staff, but what do you do about things like holiday pay? What are you doing about unfurloughing staff, bringing people back into line? Funding, you've probably all seen the Staffs County Council grant. This went out this week, £1,000, up to £1,000 for small businesses like myself, like many of you, who probably fall in between the cracks for a lot of the mainstream funding, or you don't want to take a loan because, you know, let's remember, a loan's got to be paid back somewhere along the line. Skills Hub, now is a great time to reskill yourself, reskill your staff, upskill your staff again, so we're all ready to hit the ground running. Talk to the Growth Hubs there for their business helpline is on there for any sort of help at all, help and support, signpost you towards funding. And I would urge you to network, you know, go on the webinars like this. There are speed networking events, screen networking events, which you can go on and make the Chamber website your first port of call. So I'll put the website there. I've also put the Business Growth Hub helpline there, and the Staff Skills Hub website address. So that's it from me for now. So I'm now going to hand over to Emily, who's going to take you into the third part of the presentation.
Hello everyone, just bear with me while I get my screen up and running. Right, okay, I hope everybody can see that, and I'm sure Laura will tell me if they can't. Thank you so much for being here today. I think Mark, Emma and I are only too pleased to be able to share some of our ideas and top tips and experience working in the visitor economy. So I'm really talking to you about several different elements that you can do practically in your businesses right now. Although I am guessing most of you are closed, or you're doing a very small amount of maybe some delivery business or some takeout business, it's very difficult to think about what you can do for the future when we are given no certain answers just now, and that can feel really disconcerting. And I am working with businesses all the time in that situation. So I think the first thing that I think is really important to do, and Emma alluded to this as well, is about reviewing your business to this point. It's a really great opportunity to actually have a good look at maybe the last year, maybe even the last 5 years, about the direction that your business has been taking, the type of business that you've been doing. So I really mean reviewing your business operationally, financially, and digitally, so that you're able to really understand what actually was good about your business and what was less good. And has your business gone in a direction that you hadn't really wanted it to? You'd maybe fallen into a bit of a rut. Or maybe your business was on the precipice of doing something completely different and you were stopped in your tracks, but that you'd like to pick that up in the future. So if you're going to do a practical review of your business, here are some questions that you might like to ask yourself and make some notes. And can I just say to you all as well that you have at the bottom of your screen a question and answers button. If you've got any questions, we're going to stick around at the end of this session, Mark, I and Emma, and we're going to, hopefully answer some questions. If we don't know the answers, then we will signpost you to the right places. So questions to ask yourself then. Can you extend the season? I know that a lot of you either experience fairly short seasons, so you might like to think about extending them, or many of you may feel that you have peaks and troughs during the whole year. If you are in a situation where maybe you have had to move people's bookings, so if you're in the accommodation sector, for example, you've had to move people's bookings into next year, and maybe you have managed to get your visitors and guests and customers to do that, that's great. But you might find that there's a knock-on effect with cash flow into 2021. Think about ways that you can improve your season. Because if you look back and review at, traditionally you might have always said that February was a hopeless month or January wasn't always great. Can you find ways when we look forward and start to plan about, making those months not automatically bad months for your business, but something that you can introduce that's new? And can you have a look then at your profit margins? Were there times in your business where actually profit margins were pretty slim and that you were pedaling hard for not a lot of income? And are there opportunities that you can stop doing that in the future? Can you think about operational changes, financial pricing changes? We'll talk about pricing in a minute. Can you think about ways in which you can add value? We're going to talk about that too. But just have a look at how your money flowed during the last year. It's so important, because when our noses are to the grindstone under normal circumstances, I've been guilty of this in my own business. It's very easy to just keep pedaling hard with your head down and not look up and look at the bigger picture. So pricing then, again, pricing is a difficult one, and we are going to have to think about our pricing in the future. But how has your pricing been in the last few years? Have you been guilty of not increasing your prices when perhaps where you're sourcing your ingredients from, your raw materials, whatever you're using, has gone up and you haven't reflected that in the price? So you need to have a little look at that. And were you really offering the best service that you could? Now, that's a rude question, because I know all of you work really hard, but it is an opportunity to think about that and then how that might link to staff training. So for example, a lot of people, a lot of customers and a lot of visitors like to communicate with their businesses that they want to visit, to stay with, to eat at. using something like Facebook Messenger. And I have worked with a lot of small businesses who said, no, thank you very much. I do not want to be on call 24 hours a day. That is not something that I want to get into. But actually, has that been offering them the best customer service? Is there a way around that where communication is so much more easy in the future, so that you are offering an upgraded customer service in the future? And staff training too. Again, staff training is really difficult to fit in. I know that Mark and Emma mentioned the Skills Hub, for example, so there might be an opportunity for you to get training in your business. But often, again, when we're busy, we don't concentrate on what additional training our staff could have that would improve our business. So have a little look at that. Has it been a long time? Has your training manual not, a bit dusty on the shelf? Is your business looking shabby at the edges? Mark talked about a lot of people doing decorating. I am aware of that. Some of you might not have the opportunity to do any of that, but even if your business is digitally looking shabby, is your website, and I think Mark talked about this too, has that been tired? Has it got out of date photographs on it? Is the search engine optimization a little bit dodgy? So really give yourself an honest, long, hard look at your business and see if there are areas that you can now polish. And what product never really sold well? I mean, product for some of you might be a physical product, it might be gifts, it might be food, it might be tickets, but many of you in the accommodation business, you are providing a product, a great night's sleep, or a great night's sleep with a hot tub. Are there areas in your business that you thought you wanted, your customers would love, but never really sold? Have a good look at parts of your business that are a little bit dusty, a little bit quiet. Is there an opportunity for you to potentially axe those things moving forward to refresh your business and to give you the time, space, creativity and energy to focus on the parts of your business that actually did really well? So don't be afraid to do that. Sometimes a slimmed down business that is doing that slimmed down business to a fantastic level is better than a business trying to do lots of different things but maybe not to that best level. So review is important. The next thing I want to talk to you about is adding value. So fundamentally, life has changed. We all know that. You could argue that our world, our location, Staffordshire, our lives won't ever quite feel the same post-pandemic. And your customers will feel this too. So it's really important that you are able to empathise and have a little think about your particular audience sectors, the ones that you have known, recognised, worked with, marketed to for maybe a very long time. But you need to think about those people now and think about how their needs have changed and are you able to respond to those changes. So I've made notes here around your audience may feel more cautious, more fearful. They might be a little bit more nervous around spending money. They might be unsure financially. They also might be really focused on spending time with family and loved ones. I'm sure I am like many of you. I'm not able to hug members of my family. I'm not able to see younger children in my family that are growing up and I haven't been able to see them for a while. So your audiences will feel the same and will be craving opportunities to gather together and, celebrate those lockdown birthdays that they couldn't celebrate at the time, but can celebrate afterwards. So have a little think about that. Maybe write down your audiences. Traditionally, the audiences that have been part of your business, so visitors, guests, customers, and then think about how they might have changed and how you could potentially respond. None of us know how lockdown will be eased, but we do know that, or we can guess and we can look on social media and we can watch and listen to find out how our audiences are responding to that. So, for example, adding value to fulfill those needs will not only help your bottom line, will not only sharpen up and refresh your business, but also bring you better income over a longer period of time. So celebration packages might be an idea. Packaging up a series of, you know, an accommodation with a birthday cake thrown in. It could be something as simple as that. Special offers in restaurants and cafes, lovely gifts and ideas that can be sent to people. People are doing this already, but this is for afterwards and for now. For those of you who are closed, can you sell gift vouchers now and add value, so that, and gift vouchers maybe that are available to be used for another 24 months. You could be really generous about that, but they are gift vouchers that give people, you know, free birthday cakes when they come to stay at your accommodation, or a bottle of wine when they come to eat at your restaurant. So these are things that you can start to think about now. And that might involve a collaboration. So collaborations with other small businesses, that's going on loads. I'm seeing that on social media. I think Emma mentioned it at the beginning. So it's the way in which a cafe might be offering food parcels to vulnerable people now, but come the future when our lockdown eases, but there might still be groups that don't feel confident about going out in the same way. Are you able to create new delivery packages with, you know, jams from one place, scones from another, and cream for another? Could you offer fantastic well-being packages as part of your accommodation? Because these first holidays, these first visits to cafes are going to be big, emotional, momentous moments for people. Even that first visit to a cafe is going to feel special and emotional. And how can you add value and collaborate with other businesses to make that even more special and memorable? Some of you might want to think about creating flexible payment plans or enhanced terms and conditions within your business. So one of the examples might be that if you have had to move people's bookings for your accommodation, can you encourage people to book again for the future by being really more flexible around the way that they pay for their deposits and balances, or the way that you administer your T's and C's? This is not about you losing out as a business, but it is about showing your customers that you empathize with the position they're in. And I would say all marketing is about a relationship. So in great relationships, there's compromise, isn't there? So you're able to say to your customers, I really want you to come back to us and stay with us, eat with us, buy from us. But I'm going to show you some generosity in return, and I'm going to be really relaxed about that. And that might help people who are feeling fearful. None of us, as I've already said, understand what easing lockdown will really mean, but we can guess that things like health, well-being, safety is going to be paramount. Social distancing might be a challenge for your business. So I've spoken to eating establishments who are fearful about not being able to bring in enough money if they have to halve the number of seats in their cafe, for example. So this is something we can plan for now. So can we add value to the experiences people have? If we have less people coming into our place because of social distancing, how could you add value to that experience in order that the value and turnover doesn't take a hit at the same level as footfall, for example? Think about the ways in which you can reassure customers that coming back to you will be a safe and secure experience, as well as a fun one, emotional, etc. This is about making sure that your communications are clear on your website. Maybe you can be setting up a website page that hasn't gone live yet that is going to lay out your policies. So traditionally in a business, you have to have an access policy. You have to have maybe an environmental policy. You might have a health and safety policy. You're going to have a coronavirus policy too. So this is something you can be writing now. You might not know the finer detail, but think about the points that people are going to need to know. Is it safe to bring my grandma when lockdown eases? Will you have cleansing gel in the toilets, etc.? Will you have paper towels instead of material towels? Are there going to be spare masks that, disposable masks that you can pick up if you've forgotten yours? All these types of ideas that might be useful. The other thing to think about is things like VIP offers. I'm going to talk about this in a bit more detail in a minute. You have got, all of you, audiences that were either going to stay with you, who used to be regular drinkers in your place, who used to regularly pop by your part of town. And they are still sitting there. They're still sitting there, bored, fed up, stressed, bored. You know, I've said bored already, maybe they're double bored. But they're at home on social media. They're sitting at their desktops and they're sitting on their phones, and receiving an email from you that makes them feel special might just be the thing that helps them remember you when you reopen. So creating email marketing subscribers, creating a special group on Facebook, creating a special place on your website that makes them feel special. Maybe, and Mark mentioned Rudyard Hotel having a competition. Think about VIP offers that are going to help people feel special as well, to help show your customers and your audience just how much you're thinking about them at this time. And then that brings me to the final point about adding value, which is a pay it forward or a donation scheme. So I've seen quite a few accommodations locally who are offering giveaway competitions to NHS workers, or they're offering free accommodation now for frontline workers of all sorts who have to isolate from their families during this period. But what about doing that forevermore now? What about taking on that fantastic community spirit into your business in the future? So it could be that you run a cafe and people can buy 2 cups of coffee, and the second coffee will go to a homeless person or someone who can't pay. Or your second coffee, the equivalent money, goes into a pot that goes to a local food bank, for example. And are you publicizing this? Are you asking your customers now on social media about what they think of this? And are you planning on how you can incorporate it and add it to your website? Maybe you can say to people, every time you book with us, we will donate to another charity, to show that, really to evidence the values in your brand and in your business. And some of us, a lot of us, would have wanted to do this before, but again, we were so busy, we didn't get around to it. And you know, life has given us the opportunity, if nothing else, to think about these things. There's, for small businesses, there is an organisation called Work for Good, and you can log on to Work for Good and choose a charity that you would like, and it includes very small local charities as well as national charities, a charity that you would like to donate, and you can have a button and people can donate, or you can show that you're going to donate as a result of their booking. So think about ways in which you can evidence your work in the community in the future, because this will really help people discern where they're going to visit and where they're going to book in the future. I think if nothing else, this particular pandemic has helped or forced people or helped people to reassess what's important in their lives. And community action, fundraising, being generous is really uppermost in everyone's mind. So your business needs to be ahead of the curve on that and evidence and show them exactly what you're doing to be generous. Of course, like Mark said, if you need a story now, don't be shy of showing people what you're already doing. You know, if you're handing out food parcels, making masks or overalls, or housing frontline workers in your empty accommodation, then don't be shy in telling people, because this isn't about showing off and I'm great. This is about saying, this is us and we're trying to give back because we understand how important our asset is and how we can give back. I think it's really important to communicate that. So growing audience then, you might think that that's a bonkers idea just at this moment, especially if you are closed altogether. But growing audience is really important, because even if you're closed, you can strengthen and improve your audience relationships. I'm just checking the time here. Yeah, I need to make sure there's plenty of time afterwards for questions. So think about, I've already mentioned this, email subscribing. I know there are a load of you out there who said, yeah, I set up a MailChimp account and never got around to it. I hate writing newsletters. I don't know how to get people to sign up. So I can hear your arguments, and please add them to the Q&A and we'll talk about them. But there's nothing like saying, listen, we're closed at the moment, but we are adding some brilliant new services, products and ideas to our business when we reopen. And we would love you to sign up to our email, become part of our VIP club or our exclusive club, name it something jolly. Don't name it email subscribing club, because that sounds dull. And just say to them, you know, you will be first to hear when we're going to roll out a new delivery service. You're going to be first to hear when we open our books for booking. You're going to be first to hear when we open up. And maybe you will get a free coffee when you come, because, you know, if the first 10 visitors will get a free coffee when you finally reopen. All these little incentives really build and strengthen relationships going forward. And as Mark has already talked about, and I've mentioned too, is keep people informed about what you're doing. So if you have a beautiful accommodation in rural Staffordshire somewhere and people are missing out, then video the changing seasons, video the animals, video the blue skies, video the upgraded bedrooms, because people want to know what you're doing. And finally, and I've mentioned this throughout, you need to improve your digital footprint. We can all improve our footprint, even if we think we're pretty digital savvy. So upgrading your website is vital, including clear communications about your current status, but also your plans for the future is also vital. And I would say adding an email sign up button is really important. But also audit your search engine optimization and take into account the new world order. So for example, you may never have optimized your website for a search for social distancing, for example. But now it's really important that you have a social distancing policy, or that you will have, and that you have optimized your website for that to come as a result of a Google search. So if people are searching in Staffordshire for a cafe with proper social distancing policies, then you want your business or your cafe to be top of that list. Ask for reviews too. If you had customers last year who never got around to reviewing you, make sure that they do now. It will help your Google rankings. And Mark has already talked about new images, videos, upgrading your data capture, which is email subscribers. And if you're unsure about how to do any of these, then skill share and skill swap with your fellow businesses. Emma talked about this at the beginning. People have got lots of different skills. So people can maybe have a fiddle with your website in return for you baking some cakes for them, whatever it is. Don't forget, you're not alone. So remember that your business can be better. All of ours can. Nobody is in a perfect business. You're best placed as a small business or a visitor economy business to be nimble and flexible. You can pivot your offer and add value. None of you have got things that can't change, even just a little bit. Don't only rely on social media. Make sure that you are emailing people too. Collaborate and be creative in your ideas. Britain, I think, will have a very strong domestic market in the next year or so, because people will want to get out, but they might not want to go so far. And add more purpose into your business and tell your story clearly, so that you can show people what you do for your communities and how you're giving back. So I think now my colleagues, Mark and Emma, might show their faces and add their microphones. And also, Laura, I'm not sure if I'm struggling to see the questions now because I'm sharing the screen. Hi, Laura. So if there have been questions, I can't see them. So you might have to just tell us what they are. Sorry.
Yeah, not a problem. That's absolutely fine. So we have questions already. So I'm just going to go through them now. And then anybody else from the attendees list, if you want to add questions, that's absolutely fine as well. So let's just go through the questions now. So we've had Andrea say we have had discussions with VB and VE on the DMO level about creating a charter mark or similar, which businesses can display to help give customers confidence that they have undertaken a risk assessment and implementing measures to ensure their safety. So I think she's probably just, that's not really a question, she's just asking. She's just giving a bit of information there. Let's just have a look. Just bear with me, because they're not questions, they're just people giving advice to what you've said. So just bear with me.
Can I just pick up on one point that came out during the presentation, and thank you to Darren Back for pointing it out. Yes, you were totally right, Darren. It is also about the social media, what channels your customers want, and not just what you want. That was missed out of my presentation, but a good point there. Yeah, you need to know where your customers are on social media and make sure that you're hitting those channels.
Brilliant. Darren's also just put, hi Andrea, I like the example of showing rather than telling will work better. See great examples of many businesses showing the processes that they've put in place via video on social channels, as this will impact on your local audience and ahead of getting to the venue or trawling through their website. It is also a lot quicker to market. This also allows the customers to let other potential customers know how well the business is doing dealing with the risks, and this will carry a lot more weight. Bear with me.
And I think that's true, just taking up that point, Laura, and the point that Darren's just made is I'm seeing some amazing examples on social media of people updating with little videos, little live streamings, just saying we're doing this, we're planning this is how we're delivering now, this is what you can do, this is the help you can get on our website, and really communicating a lot more on a human level. And I think that this pandemic has really given people the confidence to do that. For example, all of us doing meetings on videos all the time, we wouldn't have perhaps preferred to do that in the past, but it's making us all slightly braver. And I agree that being brave and doing things you haven't done before will be really important, well, is really important, and will, you know, reap rewards, I think, in terms of relationship building.
So Lizzie just says, what is your best guess as to when different kinds of businesses will be able to reopen, and what, if anything, can businesses do together to influence that and reassure business, government that we can reopen safely? Charter mark is a great idea. Is that something that staffs could pioneer, or on a regional or national level?
It's the $1 million question, isn't it? When unfortunately we don't have the universal answer on that at the moment. I don't know if anybody else has got an opinion. My feeling is that unfortunately some businesses relating to large numbers of customers in a smaller space, for example pubs and restaurants, are not going to be priority at the moment. What will happen with the accommodation sector as well? It's very difficult to say. I don't know if anybody else has got any more insight on that.
Yeah, but Mark, I think businesses can think about the takeaway options. And one of my restaurants who closed very early on have announced that this weekend they're opening to do their takeaways and to get takeaway business coming through. So I think people can look at ideas of how they can work together and what they can do, not necessarily for their direct business, but is there anything that they can support other people with, and to help other people's businesses work together as well. So it might not necessarily be your business that opens tomorrow, but actually something that you do supports another business to open tomorrow, which means that you and yourself are getting some form of income as well at the same time. I don't know if anybody knows actually at the moment when we're going to be open. I keep telling my children they'll be back in school next week. That doesn't go down very well regularly. But, you know, it was supposed to be the middle of May. It's now gone back to June for schools. But there are places opening at the moment. Some shops are starting to open. You're seeing more people out on the streets. I just think it's trying to look at how you can do something which makes sure that people are socially distancing and keeping themselves apart. Emily?
I think yes, I wanted to add to that as well. I think that's absolutely right. I think there are certain things that some of you might be able to do now, but I think it's really important to do two things. Is we can't second guess what the government will do or how they'll do it, but we can plan for possibilities and we can communicate what we're planning to do. So for those of you, for example, if you've got a cafe or a pub or restaurant, it's unlikely they're going to allow, in whichever order they allow those places to open, I would imagine it's unlikely that they're going to allow those places to be packed in the way that we're used to. So it might be really important for your own business planning operationally and communications wise, is to think about how you would manage that and how you can communicate it with your customers, because it will be what the government say. So, you know, on a given day, the government might say you can now visit cafes. I don't know if it'll happen like that. But when people then choose which cafe they're going to go to, they're going to go to the one which clearly states how they're keeping people safe, what they have done, the hard work they've gone into to make sure that your experience is a safe one. So I think it's important for you to plan for various different scenarios now, and also plan to how you're going to communicate that clearly as soon as you get the opportunity to be open.
But isn't that where a charter mark, like Andrea's suggesting, actually would come in very well?
Yes, I mean, you know, again, it's a quick way for somebody to quickly reference that a place is safe, healthy, and a good place to visit.
Brilliant, fantastic. We've just got a couple of other questions and just a little bit of advice, really. So Paul just says on the chat, we're supporting hotels, restaurants in France who are ahead of the curve. From analytics and customer questions, the customer buying behaviour is different, more looking not to travel too far. Safety is important, but they need to get out as they don't like to be stuck at home. So yes, thank you for that, Paul.
Paul, I saw an article on the Vendée tourism as well this week. It came through, a friend of mine lives over there, and they were saying what their plans are to open up tourism, because that's one of the areas I go to a lot, and they were explaining how they're looking at already opening up their restaurants and what they're going to do with the holiday parks and things like that. So yeah, there's some good stuff coming out of France at the moment.
Good, fantastic. We've got some more questions. So Trudy just says, does the panel have any thoughts on how the district authorities can help in the recovery process?
I mean, I think, to me, it's about using voices and getting feedback. I think Andrea should correct me, she might be able to put on the Q&A. There's a survey going to be going out about what tourism businesses would like and how they would like some help. I think people talking together and being able to get a common understanding of what is going on is what's needed. Lots of people saying lots of different things that they need isn't really going to get an answer for the district councils. It needs to come sort of as one voice or one group or one idea, and then grow from that. So I think, Andrea, you can put on the Q&A for me if you can, if you are still doing the survey, because I know a lot of the DMOs are actually doing that at the moment.
Okay, fantastic. Tony's just said, we are currently exploring the possibility of converting our business centre into a wedding venue, and also to add some luxury shepherd hut accommodation in the grounds. Does the panel think that we should start now publishing information on social media about how the project is developing, or should we wait until the project is further on?
Shall I just...
Emma and I...
we're all nodding there, aren't we? Yeah, yeah.
We're all nodding. I think I'll let everybody else speak as well. I think it's really important to bring your audience along on the journey that you're on. I think people love story, and don't forget, people are bored, people are feeling a little bit miserable. And so to see the future coming together in your business, you know, even if it's a muddy boots day when you're digging foundations or the diggers in, or, you know, you're refreshing the toilet area, and all this creates a lovely journey and a lovely story to help build relationship. And I would also add in, don't be afraid to start building an email subscriber list now, so that these people who are watching you on social media get to hear first, maybe even get a little VIP trip to be the first people who book with you or stay with you. I'll let the other guys say what they want to say.
Yeah, I'd reiterate that, and I say you can't start early enough. If you're going to do a time lapse of the project, then, you know, yesterday is the time to start that with the muddy boots, with the spade going in the ground, because you'll have a fantastic time lapse video when all this is done.
I completely agree. You need to get the story going, get people engaged. I have not watched so many Facebook videos in my life. I've just sit here looking at them. The other day, we were supposed to be going to Rome. We're one of the people who aren't getting their money back from Ryanair, and I'm in the middle of a fight with them. And I was so fed up, and I was just looking at accommodation by the sea, and sent out a photo to my brother, one brother who lives in Canada and one who lives in Ireland, and my mum and dad, and said, right, who's meeting me here next week? My brother's already started to canoe now from Canada to get over here. But it's people, you know, people are looking at these things now, and the story needs to start now of what you're doing. Just to carry on what I was saying, Andrea has put on the chat that yes, they are putting a survey together for the visitor economy to understand what everybody wants and what businesses are looking for.
Wonderful, fantastic. Bear with me.
There was one from Kerry, wasn't there, at the top, Laura? I think Kerry was
About staff.
Mayo.
Yeah. So Kerry, as and when businesses reopen, we may well be operating with lower staff levels. What options, ways may be best to maintain and deal with staff in this type of scenario?
Communication. Keep talking to them. Keep them understanding what your ideas are and what your plans are. Make them feel that they are still part of your business, and just keep communicating with them. And I'm not sure if you mean the staff who you're not going to have working for you, or the staff that will be working for you, but they'll all have questions, and they'll start making stories up in their mind, really, and what they're thinking about, unless you're talking to them. So I would just keep in communication, even if it's just some form of WhatsApp group where you can all be chatting to each other, and keep the conversation going. Talk about anything, how they're doing, how they're getting on, what they're doing at the moment. If they're not, if you have got them on furlough or whatever, just keep communication lines going, and let them know what your thoughts are. That's my advice.
Brilliant, Emma, thank you. Andrew's just reminded us on the chat as well that this Friday is Staffordshire Day, and the 1st of May is Staffordshire Day, which the Staffordshire Chamber of Commerce will be promoting everything that they're doing online on the website. So if you want to look there, we'll be able to send you a link as well to that. Claire's just said, what can be done to support coach travel tourism in the social distancing context? It's an important element of the tourism economy in Stoke Staffs.
Do you want me to? So Claire, thank you for the question. So that is a really difficult one, because we have all seen various photographs of, for example, aeroplanes and how they're planning to keep seats, you know, rows of seats empty in between. I don't know if that means that somebody sneeze can't travel two rows in front or behind. So it's going to be difficult to see what guidelines comes from the government as time goes on and lockdown eases. It might be worth thinking about doing more regular trips, so that there are, rather than, you know, a single very busy bus doing one particular trip in a week, that there are multiple smaller groups, making it a much more bespoke experience, maybe adding some value into the experience in a much more small quantity. So where you are having less people in a coach, for example, you have managed to improve the value of that experience. You haven't had to reduce your turnover too much, and you've improved the experience of each visitor. But that is going to be one to watch and see. And unfortunately, I don't have an answer about the kinds of government guidelines. I don't know if anyone else wants to add in there.
Unfortunately, I don't. No, I wouldn't like to quote specific guidelines on this, but I'm sure there will be information on there, and perhaps that's something we can have a look at for Kirsty to get some information to her.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably something that needs to be, for those of you that don't know, obviously we've got the email addresses from everybody, but we've also got an email address at the Chamber, so events@staffordshirechambers.co.uk. So if there are any questions that come from today that we cannot answer at the moment, we will be able to answer it off the webinar as well.
Yeah, Andrea's made a point on there as well, hasn't she, that the Growth Hub are promoting a county and citywide survey which all businesses can complete, and it looks from here to be hosted on the Stoke City website.
That's right,
So
yes.
that's something we'd urge all participants to take part in.
Well, fantastic. And just Andrea again saying there are no guidelines at the moment, but a school have thought that outdoor attractions will most likely to open first. So that just gives everybody an idea. And Kirsty, I think Mark's just said that we will pick that up after the webinar, just be able to get you how you can receive the results of the survey as well. Fantastic. Is there anybody else that's got any more questions for us today before we leave? And we've answered quite a lot of questions there, so just give you another minute just to see if anybody else has got any questions. No, I think we're done. So I just want to thank Emily, Mark, and Emma today. Oh, we've just got one more. We'll just squeeze in one before we go. Helen's just said, can a working group be set up for the charter mark idea? Is that something that you guys can do, or is that something?
Well, it sounds like it's something that Andrea from Enjoy Staffordshire is thinking about, or is part of a communication. So we can certainly find out afterwards. I'm guessing that you might have everybody's contact details, Laura, after this.
We do, yes.
Yeah, so it would be possible, I guess, if we're in further discussions with Andrea, for example, and that seems appropriate, then yeah, I think discussion is going to be important in the coming weeks and months. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Okay, I think we're all done today. So I just want to say again, sorry, thank you to Emily, Mark, and Emma for joining us today. It was fantastic, so and really informative as well. So thank you very much. It's going to be interesting how everything plays out as it does. So fantastic, and thank you all of the attendees for being part of the webinar today. Like I said, you can find a copy of this as of tomorrow on our Staffordshire Chamber of Commerce website under the webinar library. But again, we have a host of webinars that we're hosting all of this week and in the coming weeks to come. So I just want to say thank you again to everybody, and hopefully we'll see you all very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.